He put up a split cedar rail fence around it, which is now gone. And even though he didn't have much money at the time, over a period of time, he and his brother Robert managed to purchase the south 50 acres, which had been taken away from their father. And the house, of course, that was there was lifted up, rolled into place here, put on a new poured cement foundation, and put on the same spot practically where their father had built their first Irish shanty back in 1845. William rented the place out, and one particular man who lived here relished putting a sheet over his head and walking around and scaring tourists who came by in that time. William, in 1889, had the Ingersoll Stoneworks commissioned to build a tombstone which had the words "murdered" on it. It was supposed to have a symbol at the top which was a man in handcuffs, but that didn't fly well, and it was replaced with it manifested itself in the form of a cross. That was erected in 1889 and was replaced in 1964 with the present stone. William did not live here. His brother apparently lived here for a short time. Both men moved down not too far from St. Thomas, where William continued to raise racehorses, became a hotel owner, and died in his 52nd year in 1897 of tuberculosis. His brother lived until 1911 and had the barn raised up put on a poured cement foundation. The house went over to Patrick, who at age 65, 1 year older than his father, died in 1914. And in 1916, at the age of 58, Jenny Donnelly passed away. 1 year younger than her mother. She also had tuberculosis. She had, I believe, about 8 children, and William had a total of 3. The house went over to Michael's son, James III. And when he died in 1937, the house went to his sister, Catherine Donnelly Croswell, and she sold it outright in 1939. The full 100 acres was sold to a man by the name of Harrigan. Mr. Harrigan had it for a series of years, and in the 1960s severed it off to what it is now, 6.19 acres. And the Harrigan family still owns the surrounding acreage. Besides being a school teacher and a master beekeeper, I have the honor or privilege or curse, if you wish to use the word, of being a professional trance clairvoyant. And one of the things about being here is that you're never alone. The title of a book that I'm working on, You Are Never Alone, Our Life on the Donnelly Homestead. When we first arrived here, I noted that there were a number of entities in the house. Entities, you say, entities. Ghosts, if you want to use the word. We've had a number of manifestations in the house, one of which was a smoke detector which has beeped, which is not terribly unusual, except it has no battery in it. Sounds of footsteps in the night. People who used to live here would get up in the morning and the cupboard doors would all be open and the lights would be on. We had the priest come up, and even though I'm not Roman Catholic, we have crucifixes in the house. We had the priest give the last rites in the kitchen to a particular entity to get him to move on. Things are a little bit better in the house. There are 3 rooms upstairs. The room that is directly over the bathroom is the sewing room, and it has a neutral feeling. More or less kitty corner to that is my son's room. It has a good feeling. But the room that is directly over the kitchen has a rather odd feeling, and other people have commented without prompting by me. They've been through the house and they've indicated that the one room upstairs has a rather odd flavor, if you will. The barn, we're going up there just now. The barn is a real repository of a number of entities. We've had other psychics who've come from Toronto, and unannounced to them, they have gone through and have come up with basically the same thing that I have found. Let's go and take a look there now. We're standing in the main section here of the barn, the Donnelly barn. This particular barn was built in 1877, shortly after the original barn was burned. The insurance money, fortunately they did have insurance, allowed them to build this. This is a medium-sized standard Pioneer barn. All of the wood here that you see inside the barn is hardwood. Most of it is hardwood, and there are no nails used except to hold the outer boards on. We've had winds upwards of 115 kilometers an hour here, and we've lost the odd barn board, but the main structure, being held with pins, mortise and tenon, has not really changed since 1877 when it was built. This particular barn is a repository for a number of entities. Use that word again. Entities, I don't like to use the word ghosts, I like to use the word specters. There are a number that are here, some of whom are not even aware of the fact that they're no longer in a physical body. We've had a number of people who've come by here who have commented before a tour, and they'd say, excuse me, they'd say, I know it sounds really dumb, but I get the strange feeling I'm being watched. This has happened so many times I've lost count. People have stated that they have a feeling. Some people cannot walk into the barn here without the hair coming up in the back of their neck. Being the type of person that I am now, when I close my eyes, I can sense quite a few entities here. You're never alone. I do not allow this anymore, but I did at one time allow individuals to come and spend the night in the barn. But because of insurance reasons, it's not done anymore. One fella stayed here on Halloween night several years ago. He's a lot better now. He had rather vivid nightmares. 2 years ago, a couple came in their 30s, and he was able to sleep, but she was not. She sat up here in the straw, and shortly after 1 o'clock in the morning, with just a lantern hanging on a nail here, a real lantern, and it wasn't here for ambience. It was here because we don't have electricity here in the barn. Shortly after 1 o'clock, he was awakened, and he sat bolt upright, and both of them heard the sound of footsteps coming toward them in the straw. He then felt pressure on his chest. There was no pain, there was just a lot of pressure, and he had to get up and move around, and it went away. He just felt that very frightening situation. Now you might play devil's advocate and say, well, because he knows what is going on here, that this is reputed to be a haunted barn and what have you, and therefore he's going to set his mind. Well, you can make your own decision on that. But we don't have people stay here anymore because, as I said, because of insurance reasons.